Welcome to Life It with DVD. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Today I wanted to discuss what advice would you give yourself? And I think this is such an important question that when we reframe it to, try to take the us, the who we are, our ego, out of the question, and think of ourselves like we're a different person. I think this is a huge perspective shift that can really help you in determining what it is that you want and what you should be doing. So, uh, I phrase the question like that: what advice would you give yourself? Because if you just think about when you're talking to another person, um, you know, most of the time people don't, ask a whole lot, right? They don't ask you, what do you think I should do, right? At least this is how this is most of the people I encountered. Most people don't ask for advice. However, when people do ask for advice, usually we're pretty happy to help them out. We want to help people out, right? That is really just, if you're trying to do your best, if you're trying to be Life It, you're trying to help people to get where they want to be, you want to help them. And sometimes, and if you've been down this path as long as I have, typically when people aren't asking for advice, they don't want it, right? They don't want it. And if you try to give them a piece of advice, they will reject it. They will they will act pretty negatively to it, because it's unwelcomed, right? A lot of people complain about things, and you think you might be able to help them, but usually, um, people don't want help. They're either just venting. It's a coping mechanism. They're talking about it. They're expressing their frustration, but they're really not looking for a solution. So if you turn that in on yourself, right? When you complain about things, if you complain about things, I think we all probably do. Uh, what are your complaints, right? And if you find yourself complaining, just being down, being frustrated about things, are you articulating those things out to yourself? Are you expressing them somewhere? Are you expressing them to another person, into a journal? Maybe this is something that's just these frustrations ruminate on your mind while you try to clear your mind with meditation or another you know practice that you're doing your best to free the burdens, right? um, so when these things happen, right, are you really trying to solve your problems? Do you really want to solve your problems, or are you just more comfortable in that dissatisfaction, that negativity? Because some of that dissatisfaction, that negativity, is what feels familiar to us. It feels comfortable. And when these negative feelings just keep popping up and they feel comfortable, because they feel comfortable because they keep popping up, and this is a mind shift, this is an attitude issue, right? You might consciously want something, but subconsciously you just there might be resistance there. There might be something that is blocking you, that you can't see, that you have a blind spot to. So when you phrase the question, hey, what advice would you give yourself in this situation? If you really want to change, if you really want to hack the thought pattern that you're on and shift it into something else, this is a great question. Because what it does is it takes the you out of you, and you think of yourself as somebody else that, hey, had just come up to you and said, I just expressed to you, all these frustrations and these things that are going on in my life that I have, that, it's just terrible. I ruminate on it. I think about it a lot. I can't seem to fix things. It just goes on and on and on, right? All of the excuses, all of the the same old issues. And when this happens and you ask yourself, well, okay, you know, what advice would you give me, right? What else, what what can I help you with, right? Um, Usually we know the answer. We know the answer when somebody asks us the question of what advice do you think you could give me? And when you just frame it like that, when you just frame it differently and think of yourself as a different person that really just needs some help and is welcoming it, is accepting of it, you can then begin to formulate an answer that it doesn't really take a whole lot, right? You can just think about that question, what advice would I give myself, and start writing it in a journal. All these things that you're thinking about in your mind that keep popping up, these intrusive thoughts, just the things that you just worry over and over again. What advice would you give yourself in this situation? Is there something that you can do to, help get over it or move on from it, to heal from it? And what I find is a lot of times we have the answers already. We have them. We know the answer, but for some reason we consciously can't see past that answer. We have a subconscious block. We have a limiting belief. Something that is getting in our way that's preventing us from actually taking our own advice, right? We know what we need to do. We just need to trust ourselves. And that is what I find more than anything in this life is something that is a real thing that happens. We aren't stuck most of the time in anything, in any situation. Usually it is just some sort of fear or really just fear that is preventing us from actually seeing past to give. It's the fear that's preventing us from seeing the good advice that we can give ourselves. And to that end, if we can just suspend the fear for a minute, suspend all of those, all of those thoughts that just pop up when you have a spark of inspiration of like, oh yeah, this would be cool to do. This would be a good idea. This would be a good step in a direction that I could see myself going. But oh wait, no, 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 no. Like I don't have time for it, or I'm too busy, or when would I do that, or oh, it's not enough. It's not good enough. Like there's too many people that already do this. All of the excuses. When we see all of these things pop up, usually if we can just suspend that fear of like that limiting belief, we can start to take some action on that creative inspiration that pops in our head out of nowhere and take it and run with it. But we have to suspend the fear. We have to think about what is it that we would be proud of, right? What is an action that you could do today that you would be proud of tomorrow, or in a month, or next year, or a decade from now, right? What is something that, regardless of its quality or the quality or anything like that, would you be happy that you at least tried to put out there, tried with a good intention to just to make somebody's life better, right? Not unsolicited advice, because some people don't like that for whatever reason, even if they need to hear it. That's the other person's issue. But if you just put things out there, not even directing it at a certain person, what is it that you would be proud of? So once you start framing these things, right, asking yourself a better question of, well, okay, I have, I'm suspending my fear. I am thinking about what it is that, I would be proud of my past actions. Um, what do you need to stop doing? Right? What is it that you need to that's really not serving a purpose in your life? Maybe it feels like it is, but maybe it's something that it's just not that important. It's not really making a difference in the things that you care about. Um, Try to think of these things. And once you go through all of these things, you can say to yourself, all right, well, after evaluating all of these other questions, what advice would I give myself here? And hopefully, these other questions will help frame the advice that you will give. And it's as simple as that. Write it down, think about it. But the whole thing is you just need to break that pattern, that attitude that you might be addicted to in just complaining, thinking about, ruminating on those things that you can't control, right? And thinking about the things that you can control, which is you, which is your mind, which is your behaviors. And what advice would you give yourself? It's that simple. I mean, everybody wants to give advice to somebody, so why don't you just turn that on yourself and say, yeah, I don't know, I'd do this or I would do that, or maybe you should just kind of forget about this or just move on from that, or that's not really a good behavior. So like, why don't you just cut it out? Because it's just taking out large chunks of your day, or do you need to do this, or do you need to do that? What would make you feel happy, right? What is something that you would be proud of, the action that you had taken, regardless of the result, regardless of the fear, or any other parts of you that are resistant to it? Think about these things, because usually you have the answer. You already have the answers inside yourself. It's just a process of getting to know yourself and just moving through all of that noise that is in your head, that's been placed there by your parents, society, your peers, your spouses, everybody else. It's all that programming, right? You know what you need to do. It's just that you have to push through it. You just need to be yourself and to know yourself. So when you just ask yourself this question of what advice would I give myself, you usually have the answer. You just got to trust it. So I hope that helps some people. And if you enjoyed this, please like or subscribe. Let me know if you've tried asking yourself this on a regular basis. Is it helpful? Is it something that you do regularly? I think it's a pretty good one. So keep it in mind. And until next time, talk to you later.